Hello and welcome back to the podcast Little Girls Aren't Taught This. I am your host, Self-Love Lydia, self-love coach and mentor to women across the world, trauma-informed psychotherapist, and my mission is to help women cultivate deep self-love through my Instagram, my offers, and this beautiful podcast. So this week we are going to jump into an episode around tips to help you feel good in your body. Now, this episode is inspired from a post that I done, and it got 20 odd people saving it. It got so many shares. The post before that I done around body image as well got so many shares. It was almost in conjunction with this. So if you go on my Instagram, you will see those two posts. However, for me, I have so much to say around these topics. It's always really hard for me to condense them into an Instagram post. So I just thought I would talk through that Instagram post and give a little bit more depth and understanding to help you start to feel good in your body. So I think one of the things that we believe as women, especially when we're, consumed in this fitness and diet cycle, or just even in general, the messages that we see, especially on social media, is that something has to change in order for us to shift our perception of our body, in order for us to start to feel good. Now, I've been there myself when I attached this outcome to losing weight. So when I thought I was going to lose that half a stone, I'd wake up and I'd feel amazing. Now, this is something that I have worked with women around since my personal training days, so 2018. Women would come to me as clients, they would want to feel a certain way in their body, and they would pin all of that on losing weight or dropping a dress size. And I remember I used to say to them, but what happens when you reach that goal? Then what? Then what do you do? And that realization was almost something that had never came into their minds. It never came into their minds that once they hit this perception, once they hit this goal that they were so over romanticizing in their head, that nothing would change. So what's really important to me now as like a self-love coach and through my work is showing women that they can access feeling good in their body without anything needing to change. Because what that allows you to begin to understand is that the power lies in you. You're not giving your power away to external factors, and you're not giving your power away to circumstantial figures such as weight or dress size or how well you've done with your exercise or your diet. You're not comparing yourself based to other people who you idolize or you romanticize based on their body ideal. What you essentially begin to understand is that you can tap into this feeling at any point. Right now, listening to this, you can tap into that feeling of feeling good, because essentially it's a choice. It's a choice for you to tap into it. And I know, also as a disclaimer, I know there's a lot of complexities at times with women tapping into like feeling good in their body, but the more you can start to welcome in this feeling of confidence or sensuality or sexuality or just neutrality in your days, the more you're going to like embody the way that feeling impacts you, and you're going to have those little special moments in your days and in your weeks where you felt good in your body rather than feeling hate in your body. So it's so possible for every single woman listening to be able to tap into this, no matter the relationship with your body. It's about how it's relevant for you and how you can really harness this power, and you can tap into this feel good feeling for you right now, however that looks. So something I saw in the retreat that really prompted this piece of content was the shift in attitude that women had towards their bodies, which really allowed them to shift essentially how they saw themselves. So the energy that you project out onto your body, women don't realize that that's the energy that they are internalizing towards themselves. So if you project hate out onto your body, that's what you internalize. If you reject your body, you reject yourself. If you're disconnected from your body, you're disconnected from yourself. It's really interesting. The more I head towards this somatic work and the more I get in tune with the feminine in my body, the more I explore breath work, the more I hold spaces like the retreat, I really see how powerful a woman being connected to her body is, and how much actually that is a huge catalyst for change. That's a huge catalyst for self-love. That's a huge catalyst for empowerment. And it's contrasted almost against this narrative that we've had from such an early age of living outside of our bodies, living for other people, all of these theories that you've heard me speak about, you know, othering of self, self objectification. Throughout my podcast episode, you've heard me talk about all of these different theories that play out in terms of how women live outside of their bodies and the way that we are conditioned to never view our bodies as ours. And the amount of shame that we hold around our bodies, the amount of trauma that lives in our bodies, the amount of rejection, you know, criticism, hatred, whatever it is for our bodies, but just in general, like our self-image as women. So even if you struggle with, you know, something to do with your face. I had one girl at the retreat who struggled with acne all of her life, but she was body confident and she felt like she never had a space, even though she could relate to shame that women were talking about, even though she could relate to the feeling of rejecting self and the embarrassment of not wanting to be seen. Just because hers was related to her face, she always received messages like she wouldn't understand because her body was the idealized body. So I just want you to know as well, if you listen to this, that anything that you struggle with in terms of your self-image is super relevant, and it has a space, and it's so important. And you know, we're not only conditioned about our body, but we're conditioned about everything the way that we're supposed to look. And you see this so much now on social media as well. So that contrasting is super interesting, isn't it? Because a woman in her body, and a woman really secure in herself and connected to her body and living in her body, is the power. However, society pulls us away from that and makes us live outside of our bodies and makes us disconnect from our bodies. And almost our bodies become a project. They become something that we work towards perfecting. They become something that we work towards to make other people feel a certain way about ourselves. We never really grow up living in our bodies for ourselves. So what I saw at the retreat was when women started to connect into themselves and started to come back into their body, how this really shifted their attitude towards themselves. And they no longer wanted to come at themselves with hate or unkind words. And this is really powerful as well, because we never done any work around body image in the retreat. We had workshops that were really somatic. We had workshops that were focused on breath work. We had a lot of work where the women were forced to be in the body, and in doing that, this whole other process was happening simultaneously as we were doing the work around the themes of the retreat. So it was really beautiful to see this shift occurred across the 5 days without actually sitting down and with the intention of talking about body image. So what we saw in the retreat was women coming in on the first day, and you know, they were fully disconnected from their bodies. They felt insecure moving. They didn't want to be in front of people in bikinis. They didn't want to get any pictures. And this is really interesting, because this is another thing that was like an intention of mine, to be in such a beautiful space, to be in such a unbelievable villa. Like, how sad is it that women didn't want to get pictures to celebrate this moment in their lives? Like, they didn't want any pictures in their bikinis with the ocean in the background in this beautiful villa in Greece at this self-love retreat. Like, what an incredible time in their lives. And this is something, again, I see so often. We miss out on memories and we miss out on experiences because we don't want to be in the camera. We don't want pictures because we don't feel good enough in ourselves. And my intention in that retreat subtly was, please make the most of all of this. Like, make the most of everything, because this is an opportunity of a lifetime that you've not got from me, that you've give yourself by signing up to that retreat. So the fact that women come into experiences and don't want any memories or pictures because they feel ashamed or they feel disconnected or they don't want to be in a bikini because of what they perceive everybody is going to be thinking about them is so sad. And judgment is so crucial when it comes to how you feel in your body, and often it's your own judgment. So this is again linking back to that theory of other than of self. We live our lives outside of our bodies, and we almost try to preconceive what people are going to think about us. And for women, a lot of the time that's negative opinions, or it can be over sexualized opinions. So we saw the women come into the retreat and they were hiding. We saw them with long cardigans on, longer dresses on. Nothing was like fitted, especially for two of the girls in particular. And the photos and stuff wasn't something that they never wanted to do because they didn't feel worthy enough. And also, like, the other thing for women as well, which I think is really interesting, is we don't know how to be in our bodies, which means we don't know how to pose and feel sexy, and we don't dress for our bodies. So this is something that we saw when we were seeing the attitudes around bodies changing and attitudes towards themselves changing. Seeing how me and my friend Sophie, who's like really curvy, she's got a belly, she's so confident in her body, she doesn't give a fuck, she just wears whatever she wants to wear. It's amazing. She wears like crop tops, she wears tight fitted pants, she's got like a really nice bum. And you could see the girls looking at her when she was coming down every morning in the certain outfits that she was wearing. And women don't know how to be in their body. They don't know how to feel sexy. They don't know how to feel sensual in their body. So that means we don't dress for our body. So we tend to wear clothes that hide us, but in doing that, we make ourselves look bigger. Like, we almost think or trick ourselves that we're in our comfort zone, covered in our body, and that's what we want to do because we don't want people to look at us. But your body doesn't want to be covered in long cardigans, in Mykonos, or a skirt that goes past your knees. Your body will want to be out in a bikini. So it's really interesting to just observe that. And then when we were talking about getting pictures, again, the other thing was, oh, I couldn't do that because I don't know how to pose. You're going to have to help me. Seeing a woman feel confident is, you see this shine through when she stands in front of a camera. You see the way that she positions her body, how she moves in front of the camera. And to just even see the girls go from, I'm not getting any pictures, to, okay, I'm going to pose in front of the camera. It was amazing. It was amazing to show them how to move their body. You know, when we take pictures, we're so worried about how we're going to look that we almost are robotic when we take pictures. Everything's posed. You see everything on Instagram, it's super posed, it's tense. You know, I've been there back in the day. To see a woman just move and move her arms and just not worry about sucking in and just channel that confidence and that shine through in the photograph was just so unbelievably beautiful. So what we started to see was this change happen and this change occur without anything changing for their bodies. You know, they didn't lose weight, they didn't reduce their cellulite, they didn't flatten their stomachs, they didn't get rid of any insecurities. But by the last day, they were able to feel sexy and powerful and accepting enough to pose. Me and Sophie I was on the floor with the camera at one point, and Sophie was directing the girls what to do on the little walkway where the ocean was on the back. You would have seen the photos. They're beautiful. And we were directing the girls what to do, and they just felt safe enough and confident enough to put themselves in that vulnerable position to have fun and, you know, be sensual and pose and do that in front of all these other women witnessing them without anything changing. Nothing had changed whatsoever. So what this really made me start thinking about was, it's so possible for you to access that feeling right now. And I think when you're in spaces like self-love retreats, or when you're around other women, when you're around your sisters who, you know, mirror you in some way, so mirror your body type or mirror, you know, the experiences that you can relate to about how you feel in yourself, that almost acts as like a catalyst for you to both move through that and start to feel good. So I just want to share some tips on how you can start to feel good and access that feeling right now in your body, because it's so possible. And I think why we saw it occur so rapidly in the retreat is because it was an intense 5 days of doing a lot of work of getting into the body. You know, there was movement. These girls would go into their edges every single day, multiple times a day. They were moving in their body. They were doing breath work, you know, they were allowing their emotions to come up. They were being held, they were being seen, they felt safe. They were with me and Sophie, who were like super body confident, and we were taking pictures and stuff anyway. So that, when I talk about that mirror, seeing us do that and seeing how much that we didn't care and how free and confident and sexy we felt, and how much of like it wasn't really a big deal. It just is. Like, we were just outside being fun, getting pictures. That triggers that internal voice in someone that goes, I wish I could do that. And then it's like, do you step into that and do you push an edge and do it, or do you retreat back? It's like you always have those two options, which I've spoken about. So tip number 1, dress for your body, not for the shame. So this is a big one, and I've just almost touched on this, but when you dress for discomfort or shame, what you're actually doing is making yourself feel worse. So you're essentially perpetuating that cycle that's happening internally of, I feel shame or discomfort in my body, I feel uncomfortable in my body, so I'm going to cover and hide my body. So again, it's like super interesting, because on the surface, on a conscious level, you're wearing something that makes you feel comfortable because you're hiding your body. But on a subconscious, unconscious level, what you're actually doing is you're just feeding that belief in that narrative that's playing out that you need to hide your body. So it's really interesting how that contrast is happening between the two layers of you. So this is something that you'll probably do without even realizing that you're doing it. On the conscious, you think you're doing it. So conscious, for those who listen and don't really understand what that means, that's the behaviors that you're aware of. So you're aware that you will put a cardigan on if it's a warm day because you don't like your arms, and that makes you feel more comfortable. The unconscious is the reasons behind why we do that behavior. And these are the things that, you know, when you go to therapy, when you start self-love coaching, when you start to do any work on yourself, these are the things that you start to delve in, because these are the behaviors, the beliefs, the narratives, the undercurrents essentially to all of your behavior and why you're acting a certain way or why you're doing the thing that you're doing, because we don't do anything without reason. There's a reason why we do everything. So underneath a lot of our behaviors as women, when it comes to body image and when it comes to, you know, the behaviors and how we act and the things that we say, they're all driven by these undercurrents of either like discomfort, shame, uncomfortability, rejection, trauma, disconnect, disassociation. But we've built up a wall. We've almost built like a false reality on the surface where we feel like we're in control. But the reality is often, if you've not done the work on yourself, then you're not in control. These narratives are playing out. These narratives have the control over you. So consciously, you get that element of safety because you're hidden. But when you're going to feel worse walking around in a baggy, oversized t-shirt, like that's the reason why you have chosen that t-shirt stems from shame. It doesn't stem from empowerment. And it's the shame that's telling you should hide away. It's not an empowered narrative playing out that's telling you to hide away, is it? Otherwise, you wouldn't want to do that. You would wear whatever you wanted to. So dressing for your body is really an important way that you can start to feel good and take back control. Now, this might be super edgy for a lot of you. It probably is listening to this, but we saw this play out with one of the girls in the retreat. First day she came, she had a long dress and a cardigan on. By the last day, she had cycling shorts and a crop top on. And she had a curvy figure. She had an unbelievable bum. She had really, really nice hips. And she was dressed in tight clothes. And then I've seen on her Instagram since coming back, and people are commenting on how different she's dressing. People are commenting on the clothes that she's wearing, saying she's so much more confident. And now she's dressing for her body. She's dressing in things that make her feel good, make her look good. And a part of that is just embracing who you are. Now, this is why doing the self-love work is like so crucial, because a part of like you just have to embrace the fact like that you might have bigger legs, or you might have cellulite, or you might have small boobs, or you might have big boobs, or you might have a little bottom belly like me. You might be broad up top with bigger shoulders. You just have to almost embrace that. So you can take it in small steps and just wear something that feels good and that you want to wear, like a summer dress with your legs out, or it's got little cap sleeves so your arms are out, or it's a little bit V-cut so your boobs are on show. Whatever's going to make, what that thing that you always think, I would love to wear that but I don't, because. So start with wearing it in the house, or just start by buying it and hanging it up and putting it in front of your mirror, and then you can progress to trying it on, looking in the mirror. Then you can progress to putting it on and staying in the house with it. So you just walk around the house. And the day that you put this dress on, or the day that you wear this thing that you've wanted to wear, I invite you to make a ritual of it. I invite you to put your music on. I invite you to do your hair. I invite you to look nice in terms of, like, if you want to put makeup on, put your favorite fragrance on, jewelry that feels good. And I want you to treat this as like a ritual to your higher self. Your higher self, your goddess self, your divine feminine, she wants to wear this piece of clothing. So you almost need to create that environment where you feel like it's a special occasion stepping into this thing that you want to wear. And then you wear it around the house. No one cares if you've got makeup on, your hair done, your favorite fragrance, and that unbelievable outfit that you've wanted to wear for so long, but you never feel like you could, and you stay in the house doing the dishes. It doesn't matter, because then next time what you progress to is you progress to doing that again. So you feel really good, you feel really confident. Don't ask anybody else their opinion, because again, we can do that because we want people to validate our experience. And if we don't hear what we want to hear, or if somebody isn't used to seeing you wear something like that, they may make a comment. The same way when we stop wearing makeup as women, we get that comment, oh, you look tired. It's just try your best to not go to anybody for validation. You're doing this for you. You're not doing this for anybody else. And you can, the people close to you, you can bring them in on this experience, and you can just set a boundary and say, I'm just trying something new. Like, just please don't make any comments unless you have a good comment to make. If people want to tell you that you look sexy and you look beautiful, of course we want those comments. Like, lap those fucking comments up. But any like negative ones or judgmental ones, just please respect and don't tell me. So then what you can progress to doing is going out. So take yourself out. Take yourself out for a date day. Take yourself out for some self-love time. Put it in your diary, okay? So schedule it in, self-love time. And that outfit is the thing that you will wear to your self-love. So however long it takes you to get to that point is however long it takes you to get to that point. There's no rush, but it's just about taking baby steps. Like, some people will tell you to just put the dress on and go outside. I understand women's relationships with body, so I'm never going to do that. If you want to jump to straight to putting the dress on and going outside and going on a date day, you do that. But what I like to do is just make this work accessible to everybody. So this is a way that you can begin to do that, and you can work your way up to feeling good and dressing for your body, okay? And then I want you to take some time to journal on how it feels, or sit with how it feels for you to be in this outfit. Just notice, just tune in. What part of you is feeling like the divine feminine, feeling like confident, sexy? What part of you is screaming out because that shame and discomfort is triggered? And you sit with that and you journal on that. Now, that might be uncomfortable, but actually what you're allowing yourself space to do is you're noticing those inner narratives in a space where you've allowed yourself to tap into, you know, your higher self or your divine feminine and your inner confidence. So that's automatically going to trigger something within you. So it's just sitting with that so you can become super aware of your triggers and notice what's being said. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is dropping into your body. So this is another way that you can feel good in your body right now and accessible. Form a relationship with your body. Spend time getting to know your body through movement, touch, embodied dance, exercise, mirror work, and breath work. So again, these are all things that I do with women in my work, especially now I am going to be transitioning over to face-to-face work. This is going to be crucial for me in every session that I do with women. There's going to be an invitation to drop into the body. So however that feels good for you. So build a relationship with her. So I something I love and I've loved to do for years is treat my body like it's my best friend. Like there's two people. So you will hear me talk about we when I talk about me and my body. You will hear me say she. I also do this as well when I'm talking about, when I'm referring to like my pussy, I will refer it to as she, because all of these parts of me that I once rejected, the process of me coming back home, or the process of me really changing that shame that I carried around these certain parts, I almost imagined like it was me and her and we were in this relationship, and that really helped me build a relationship with her rather than just looking at it like it's just me. Because the mind is so noisy at times, and sometimes the shame or the discomfort is so deep, or those narratives are so ingrained, it can be a little bit harder. So I just love that. I just think it's a beautiful way for me to form a strong relationship with myself and form a strong relationship with my body, my sexuality, my yoni, whatever it is that you want to call it. So some of my favorite things are embodied movement, touch, exercise. There was always a simple little tip I used to share with the girls in the Divine, and it was around when we shower ourselves and when we put our moisturizer on. Everything is so robotic when it comes to women because we are so far in our masculine. It's unbelievable. We are so disconnected from our bodies, and essentially that disconnection is a masculine energy. When you're in your feminine, you're very connected. Everything that we do is either rushed or robotic. There's no slowness to it. The Divine Feminine is slowness. She is taking her time. It's present. So when you get in the shower, instead of just washing yourself super, super quick, buy a shower gel that smells unbelievable and take your time to wash your body. Take your time to touch your body. And this is going to be uncomfortable, so you just start with whatever feels good for you. So really take time to shower your whole body. Like, use your hand instead of a sponge. So use your hand, soap your hand, and start to wash your body. How does your body feel? Where feels good? Where do you notice that you get a little bit triggered? Put soap on your hands and put your hands between your legs. Like, feel yourself. What do you feel like? Because as women, we don't touch our bodies. And this is another reason why we are so disconnected and so stuck in our masculine. So when we open up this touch, we not only open it up in a way where we begin to understand what feels good and what doesn't feel good. So you will notice just when you use your hands to shower your body or moisturize your body, you'll notice places that feel good, that tingle, that you may never have touched before, or you may never have thought would feel good for you to touch. So that's something that you can do. The other thing I used to say was get a moisturizer or get an oil that smells amazing again, and take your time to moisturize your body. Again, this is something that we do very robotic. This is something that we do that is unbelievably rushed. And because as women as well, the other thing is like any fraction of time that we spend on ourselves, we're always thinking about other things that we could be doing, that we're never fucking present with it. So even something as simple as a shower and put a moisturizer on, it's rushed. So really, really start dropping in and being present with yourself and your body. So when you moisturize, take your time to moisturize your body, slow it down, do circles with your moisturizer, moisturize every part of your body, your boobs, your stomach, your legs, your hips, put your hand between your legs, moisturize your yoni if you want to. And just really take time to be with your body. Because imagine the relationship with your body was like a relationship with a child, okay, or your partner. And imagine you were never present. Imagine you were disconnected. Imagine you give that person less than crumbs. Imagine you never touched that person. Imagine you didn't even know what that person liked. Do you think you'd still have a relationship with that person, or that child would feel fulfilled and like it was seen? No. So this is why when you start to view the relationship that you have with your body, or you start to view your body as a relationship, it really hits home, because it makes you realize if this was happening with another person, there would be no relationship, because that person would not feel seen. That person would be getting the bare minimum. I wouldn't know that person. And this is your fucking body. This is what you live your life with. This is you. And we are so disconnected and rushed and feel like everything is so undeserving that we do. So really, really take your time. Embodied dance as well is another really good one. So on my Instagram, I have a highlight called embodiment. I'm going to start putting some more somatic explanations of way that you can start to move your body. I'm going to be doing some movement workshops now that I'm based at Planet Yoga. So I'm just going to bring women together and just really get them into embodied movement, because it's so different to dancing to a beat or dancing to going out and with your friends and dancing in a club. It's so different. It's just you and your body. It's an invitation where you come inwards when you just do embodied dance, and you move, and you don't work with the music, you work with the energy that's flowing through your body, and it's really beautiful. So there's some tips on how you can start to get embodied, start to move through your hips on my Instagram if you check out that highlight. But even things like exercise, like how can you be present and form a relationship through exercise? Again, are you going in? Are you getting it done? Are you smashing the weight out? Or are you being present with yourself as you're exercising? And just another question and things to think about. So having experiences where you drop in is an opportunity to just quieten down your mind and find a moment of joy in your body. And that's the big thing from dropping in. Women, when they're in their masculine, like I've just said, there's no joy. So there's no movement, there's no free flow of energy, there's no happiness, presence, slowness. So you're starved of joy, and you're starved of joy with yourself, and you don't understand how many times throughout the day you can feel joy. And this is almost like another thing with the gratitude piece. It's like, if you're not in your body, the things that you think of are going to be quite heady in terms of gratitude. You're going to look outside of yourself, when actually, when you're connected to your body, when a woman's connected to her body, she has so many moments of joy, because you're fucking powerful when you're in your body, because you're taught not to be in your body. So when you just have moments of joy and love or pleasure with your own body, it's amazing. So that is tip number 2. Tip number 3 is remember that no one really cares. Again, I know that's like a really interesting one, but it's so true. It's like you can feel good in your body right now by reminding yourself no one is going to judge you for having your arms out or your legs out. Like, even if they do, they're not your people. So no one is going to openly come up to your face and be like, oh my God, you've got your arms out. We just try to preconceive the things that we think people are going to think about us, and actually we can never get away from people judging us. But those judgments that we think other people are thinking, they're not other people's, they're yours. They're the judgments that you think about yourself. They're your spots where you feel shame. They're the spots that you feel uncomfortable with, and all you're doing is projecting that out. That's your shit. So whatever else you think anyone else is going to judge you for, I guarantee you're judging yourself. Listen to your own head. How much do you judge yourself? It's huge. So once you really get over that self-judgment, again, another reason why the self-love work is so fucking important, because when you stop judging yourself, you don't really give a fuck about what anyone else is going to say about you, to be honest. You just own who you are. You own your body. And you understand that no one can take the power away from you. And that's what the girls realised in the retreat. It's like, it's down to, it's a them thing, how they feel. They choose how they feel. So Winnie spoke about this. She got the pictures. She felt amazing. She was posing. Everyone was like cheerleading her. And then she came off, she saw the photo, and she instantly felt like shit. And in that moment, she realised she chooses how she shows up and how she feels, because she chose to feel empowered on the walkway getting the pictures, and then she come back and she could have chose to continue to feel like shit and never posted those pictures again. And that was a huge realization for her. It's almost like that realization of, oh my God, I I decide how I feel. And that's why you doing the work and coming back to yourself and doing the self-love work is so fucking crucial. So one of the things I put on this last little infographic was, you are a fucking gift from God, and once you know that, no one stands a chance of tearing you down. And I love that, because we are all gifts from God. Like, the fact that we are here, the fact that you are listening to this podcast, the fact that you have lived as many years as you have, the fact that you were born and conceived, the fact that your soul entered this body, it's a fucking miracle. You're a miracle. Not in some like crazy spiritual way, just like facts. Like, you are a fucking miracle. And once you remember that, and you remember that you are so small, your life is finite, the things that you worry about are so fucking irrelevant in the grand schemes of like space and life, and the fact that we never get to be it again, and possibilities. It just is undeniable, like, how important in a sense you are as a human being, every single human being, how important we all are, but also at the same time so irrelevant. Like, it just puts things into perspective. And once you harness your power, oh, you're going to hold on to that. Like, no one is fucking taking that away from you, because it's the most precious thing to a woman. And then number 4 is self-pleasure and touch. So again, I was coming back into dropping into your body, and I spoke about the touch piece. But self-pleasure is really, really crucial. So having an orgasm, having orgasms regularly, letting pleasure be something that you feel in your body as a result of yourself, not down to a man, not down to a woman, not down to even a toy. How can you feel pleasure? How can you have an orgasm in your own body? How, if you have toys, how can you buy toys that make you feel like a fucking goddess? Like, what is it that you want to buy? Do you want to buy a glass dildo? Do you want to buy a crystal dildo? Do you want to buy something that is only special for the you time that you have with yourself? Like, make everything in your life a ritual. Like, it's so beautiful. And really, really start to bring pleasure in. And understand how powerful a woman being the source of her own pleasure really gets to be. So a lot with this one is going to come up around like sexual shame for women. Not really understanding their bodies, not really understanding how to fully have that fully like orgasmic feeling, and how to harness that energy as well. So as women, when we feel our sexuality come up, we often project that out. So you will see that in the way that we dress, how we show up, all of these different things. What's a power in a woman and what's not often spoke about is how a woman can feel and harness her sexuality and use that for herself. That, in essence, for me, is the divine feminine. It's me feeling and tapping into that sexual energy that comes from my womb, that comes from that portal of life, and using that and channeling that up my heart, and then bringing that out in creativity and sensuality and my energy, and how I embody life, and how I show up in my projects, and how I show up in the world. A female sexuality, female sexual energy is one of the most powerful things that we have. And it's just, again, like I was saying at the beginning, contrasted with so much sexual shame, so much disconnect, so much disassociation, so much trauma for women. So this for me is really looking like the direction that I'm going to train in. Do some shamanic sexual training to be able to just help women start to open up and harness their sexual energy and use that for like so much power in their lives, because that really ripples into everything that we do. So how can you create a ritual or space where self-pleasure for you feels good? And we're not just talking about quick orgasm, clamp down, in and out, done. Like, how can you make it a thing where you set the scene? Maybe you get a bubble bath, maybe you put some roses in your bath, you light a candle, you explore your body, then maybe it turns into a self-pleasure, and then you end with an orgasm. How can you make yourself feel as relaxed, as safe as possible, and as sensual as possible. Because once you start to understand how pleasure can feel with yourself, oh, it's a game changer. It's a fucking game changer. And then that energy, you're just going to attract different things. You're going to walk differently. You're going to be different. You're going to show up different. It's so fucking powerful. And then one of the other ways with touch as well is just like little things like a hug. So wrapping your arms around yourself, imagine you're hugging your inner child and imagine she's feeling all the negative things about her body. Like that will shift you into compassion for self, because once you start to look and hear the things that you're saying and imagine you're saying that's your inner child. Again, this is why inner child work came up at the retreat, because it's so important. Once you start to do that, it really shifts you into compassion for self. So just giving yourself a hug, just allowing yourself to rock, and just because a lot of the time we look for other people, we go to external things as women to be filled up. But you need to realize that if you want a hug in a moment, you can give yourself that hug. And actually, you should give yourself regular hugs. That's something that you should do. Just also little things like, just as I sit here now, I always just like put my hands together and rub my hands together, and then I might go down my arms and then come back. And it's just a subtle way that I like to connect in with my body and touch my body. Something so simple as just like rubbing my hands together, like taking my time, rubbing up my forearms, back down. Super simple, but just really beautiful. You're tapping into self. So this is the end of the episode, and I hope that those tips, were beneficial. I know they would have been beneficial, actually. I don't know why I said that. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please share it with me. Share what your biggest takeaway was. If you start to do any of these tips, please tag me on Instagram, share them with me, drop me a DM, let me know. My biggest intention going forward is to really create community. So my DM's open, tag me in anything, share with me. It's all about creating this ripple effect of self-love and showing other women that we're on like a self-love movement. Like that's so important to me. So yes, I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall be back next week with another episode. So if you are listening to this and you're based in Liverpool or you're based in the UK and you would like to do some face-to-face work with me, then I now have a space in Planet Yoga, which is super exciting, which is somewhere so fucking sacred in Liverpool. It's like my favourite place. It's where I go to do my yoga, my breath work. I've done mushroom ceremonies, all of these lovely, lovely things. So Planet Yoga is super special for me. So I am now based there. I have my own little self-love room, which is super exciting. And I am going to be doing courses and offerings from there. So the first course that I am releasing is my beginner's self-love course, which is so exciting. So this is going to be 2 days, just going into the fundamentals, breaking down self-love, but not the self-love that we see so often on Instagram. We're talking about the self-love that I am so passionate about teaching, the life-changing, deep self-love work. So this beginner's workshop is going to be teaching you how you can start, if you're at the very beginning of your journey, how you can start to cultivate deep self-love. We're not talking journaling, and we're not talking fucking 5-minute morning meditations. That's mindset stuff. So this is really going to go into it and make it accessible for those beginners, which is exciting. So that will be coming end of June. And then but the spots are open now. So if you are interested, drop me a DM. And then I'm going to be offering my one-to-one sacred self-love sessions, which I cannot wait. These are going to be 90 minutes to 2 hours. Going to be more somatic work, really intentional, super sacred, super safe. Coming in, we're going to be working with the body, going to be working with energy. There's going to be music involved. There's going to be like intentional smells that I bring. I'm going to have like my space with maybe some instruments, and it's just going to be super, super intuitive. And it's going to be really a process, that one-on-one process of bringing women into their bodies and bringing women into that energy of self-love and like what that means for them. So we're going to open with like a beautiful cacao where we sit face to face and we drop in and we share, and we're super intentional, and just that space is going to be held for you, like so intentionally held for that time that we're together. it's going to be super fucking powerful and healing. So they are my 2 new offers going forward, which I feel really excited about. So if you are interested in either of those, please drop me a DM. And on that note, I am off. Thank you so much for being here, and I shall be back next week with another episode.